Okay. Hi, Malik. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Hey, Karam. Bonsoir. You can hear. Good. Okay. I was worried if the I, I'm testing the sound. Earlier today I had problems with the sound and I don't know what happened. And so I thought I better spend some time. Let me get a little light in here. It's sort of dark. I usually have another light on. Ah, there we go. This is my light adjustment stick. Hey, Tony. Hi, Wayne. Jonathan. Hello. How you guys doing? Oh, good. Well, this is a fairly impromptu um, discussion. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Flippin' Zippo. How you doing, man? I had hang on a second. I had a hunk of gum. What do you want to talk about? We can talk about anything about watches. Like I said, this is totally unplanned, and so anything goes. Oh, just keep it civil though. That's about the only thing I ask. How is your second custom build going? Uh it's really going quite well, as a matter of fact. It's you know, it's one of those things. There's a lot of stuff takes time. For example, it takes, I think, about 3 to 4 months for the case maker just to order the sapphire parts that have to go with it for the um. Let me see. For the top here, we have a domed. It's going to be domed, and then the back is going to be flat. And it takes about, I think, 3 to 4 months or 4 to 5 months. So that part's going on. So a lot of stuff is going on in the background right now, and we're also, there's some other things. Our designer is working on some things, getting some elements together. So it's sort of the sort of a part, like when you have your car service and you're waiting for them to get to it. Hey, Jonathan. Um, hey, Lee. How you doing? How are things in fracking Gulch? We changed your name to Tornado Valley. Did you guys get hit with a tornado? Whew. Hi, Brian. Great to see you. I know. We lost the sound. Um, there, I guess we had a whole bunch of live discussions. First, we had the two on Saturday, the one in the morning, and then one in the afternoon, and then we had the group with the second watch, and everything was fine. And that when we got uh, to sort of the main group, I guess not the main group, the old group, the OGs, uh, some point somewhere it went silent, and I don't know why. So I thought, well, I better have a little chat this afternoon, and I guess it's probably late some places. To see what's up. Can we talk about Ulysse Nardin? Sure, you can. From the '90s and early 2000s. We can. Uh, I tell you, there's one Ulysse Nardin that not only is it's one of my favorite watches, but it's later than that. It's from about 2000 15, 16, that area in there. And that is the Regatta, the Ulysse Nardin Regatta. It won the prize for, I think, a sports watch or something like that in the Grand Prix. But that watch has the most incredible video of any watch I've ever seen. If you guys can look up the video for the Ulysse Nardin Regatta. You got to see that video. That's one of the most inspiring videos. I swear the reason the watch won was because of the great video they had. Really amazing video. But so much of the Ulysse Nardin was using ETA movements and before they started using their own movements. So anyway, that's what I can say about Ulysse Nardin. Hey, Rancher, how you doing? Hey, Canadian Watch Monkey, good to see you. Um, Nice to catch you. Oh, it's 5:41 in Bali. Well, welcome to tomorrow for us. Sounds like you fixed the problem. Well, I have my fancy one with my microphone and all of that, and then I have my original one, which is actually a very good microphone. And but none of them worked this afternoon. I mean, earlier today, none of them worked. So I thought, well, I better see what's going on. Yikes, man! They've been blasting all over the place. Those tornadoes down there. I know. Uh, Rancher told me he's never seen a tornado in Oklahoma, which is a good thing. I've had earthquakes in California, and we've had blizzards and God knows what here in Connecticut, but actually the weather, other than hot in the summer and cold in the winter, and in between in the fall and spring, is sort of been pretty mild. I think if the global warming goes on, we're going to have beachfront property here. Hi, Mason, how you doing? UN Marine Yacht Master, looking one I really like. Okay, I'm not sure of that one. Now, I tell you, I like the Rolex Yachtmaster too, and I know that's not popular among Rolex fans, but that's got a nice piece of horology on it. Really nice on the countdown that they have for it. Hi, Tim. What do you think of Chopek? Tim, I saw this new one they came out with, and aesthetically, it's interesting. It's got these blue waves on the dial, but the back, they have a movement. Oh boy, I forgot the name of the movement, but what a movement. They have all of these finger bridges that you can these little finger bridges, each one on one of the gears in the gear train. I don't know if you've seen that one. I saw it on one of the online uh, thingies, what they have for that. That is very impressed by, and it's an in-house movement. I think before they were using Crenode movements, which are good movements too. I mean, they're by Francois Mijon. But these new ones are really impressive too. So that's what I think of it. I think Chopek is one of the going ones. Hi, Andrew. Awaiting a Bell and Ross. Oh, those are. Isn't Bell and Ross have those wonderful railroad watches, or am I thinking of the wrong ones? Yeah, flipping Zippo. You're right. I noticed that we got an original group. Bit chilly. Okay, how about this? I think I found another hidden gem. Anybody interested in talking about hidden gems? These are watches that most people would not even think of buying or even think of, period. And I found some, and I think they are really, really very special. Would that be okay to talk about that? I wasn't. I hate to talk about a lot of things that, but it'll help me from running out and buying one. Anybody want to talk about those or not? Because this is not something that would be on your usual Omega, Rolex, etc. list. Hi, Dark Star. Yeah, that's my whole thing. You're right. Okay. Now this I think I what was I looking for? No, somebody had this sent this watch, and I look at it. These watches are 40 millimeter. They're in white gold. They have either Vaucheur or Frederick Piguet movements, around $5,000, brand new. They are, and boy, the names of them. Anyway, you can find them. Let me tell you where to look. If you're looking for, if you, I mean, a lot of guys have watches that are very heavy on sports watches. Okay, they got a Rolex or Omega or whatever in their sports watchy styles, but they don't have a good dress watch or even a good everyday watch. These watches have good movements. They're by a company that you would not associate with watchmaking, but I've got on a Chanel, so you wouldn't associate that with watchmaking either, but it ends up that it's connected to Romain Gauthier. These watches are also connected with some major watchmakers. They're Fabergé. If you go take a look at Chrono 24, put them in order from lowest to highest. At the lower end, you have all of these watches in white gold with Frederick Piguet movements for around $5,000. And I'll bet you anything you could negotiate them down on those. I just have a feeling because when you hear Fabergé, you think of women's fufu and stuff like that they make. But it's another one of those um, companies, those luxury companies, that got a lot of money, and so when they want to make a good watch, they don't hire some, let's stuff some ETAs in it. They put in some really nice ones. So take a look at those. I think they're hidden gems, and I'm tempted. I'll put it that way. Now, like I said, this is for like looking for a dress watch. They have some other ones that I saw that I just fabulous looking that are more expensive, but put them into order from low to high and tell me what you think, okay? Somebody Hans, you're calling a beret a black salad bowl? My God, what kind of remark is that? Go stand in the corner. You can come out later on. Okay. Hey there, 24 karat Arabia Felix. Sounds like the Cartier Torture. Yes, exactly. Exactly. 24 karat. Hi, Vishal. Does Breitling de Taurus stand up to JLC? I don't, I used to think that Breitling and Tag Heuer were the very best watches ever. The reason that I thought that was because yes, Hans, that's right. The reason I thought they were great, when I used to fly, we'd come into the called FBO, fixed base operations, and they'd have a little shop in there. And the watches they had that they associated with flying were Breitling and Tag Heuer. Now, this is a funny thing. At the time, if you want to have any kind of avionics or anything for an airplane cost a fortune. And so we'd spend a fortune on stuff like that. You can see right behind me is a model of the plane I used to own with this other guy. Anyway, So we'd come in, and I always thought that Breitling and Tag Heuer, but then I found out when I started looking at Breitling's movements, they'd have these movements that were called B something or other, and they turned out to be ETA movements. And sort of, I don't know, same thing with Tag Heuer. Um, so I don't trust them right now, but they can turn around, and I know they've been developing what the BO1 or whatever they call it that they developed with Tudor, I think. Is that right? Yeah, I think they developed it with Tudor. So I'm sort of like, yeah, on those. I'd rather get the Fabergé, tell you the truth. Oh, yeah, I don't know. Chili Badger, how you doing? Yeah, there you go. Um, Johnny Bangkok, another ballet watcher. Oh my God, you guys, how are things in ballet? There are a number of top fashion brands that can do cheap fashion watches. Yeah, Maison, this is something I think that unfortunately where ignorance rules. You have a fashion brand, and then you have a noted luxury brand that makes really great watches. And the thing that you have to do, you have to dig a little deeper. Um, there's sort of, I don't know, there's certain chumps that collect watches that their knowledge isn't, they don't spend time learning about it. And that's unfortunate. And instead of looking at the label, the name of the watch, in fact, that was what I did. I thought everything by Tag Heuer and Breitling was fantastic, but I was wrong. Uh, and then I started finding out more. For example, Chanel, that owns a part of Roman Gauthier, also owns, I think, 20% of FP Journe. And so, the more you find out, I think the more deals we can get. And in some ways. Anyway, that was my find that I really liked. Okay. All right, Hans. It's always good to see you though. uh Opium watches. I love Opium. Opium is the only thing with Opium that from everything I know about Opium, I like. They're very proud of the hand they make. They got- That's the one part they make. They're doing more than we are with Larique. At least they make their own hands. We don't make anything. We make everybody. We get the best of everything. But Opium they have some kind of deal with Festina. And I'm not sure exactly what that relationship is. But Festina bought Techno Time, and Techno Time went under, but Festina owns the rights to the movements that Techno Time had. And then they have this other Festina owns this other manufacturing company. Let me see if I can find it for you real quick. And they use nanotechnology and development of uh, they use nanotechnology and taking another movement and somehow remanufacturing all of the gears for it. And I think that's what happened with Opium's movement, at least the early one. But I like the guys at Opium. They're the kind of company. They're a bunch of young guys, and they came up with some, I think, good ideas. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can find the name of that. Fine. Okay, there's a thing that this is the name of the company, okay? It's Festina also owns Soprod, and I like Soprod a lot. But there's a company that they refer to as MHVJ, which stands for Manufacture Horology Valet de Jour. And they're you gotta find some of these companies because what they're doing is really very interesting, and that's why I like Opium. They have those guys are smart, I think, and they have a watch, a very affordable watch. They look great. They have nice designs. So I don't know that much though about the techno time movement that they're using. Oh, Lee, yeah. We'll say hi to Lee's son. Yeah, Opium's very cool. Hi, Maximus. How you doing? Canadian just don't buy IWC. Oh, okay, Masson. As far as I know, BO1 chronograph movement was developed by Breitling themselves. Uh, yeah, it could be a deal with Tudor. I think Masson, there was something like this. Uh, Breitling developed something and shared it with Tudor. Then Tudor developed something and shared it with Breitling, and both of them use their own. I think they call it. Tudor calls it MT, manufacturer Tudor, and I don't know what Breitling does. Like I said, I Breitling, IWC, Breitling, Tag. I don't fully trust them. Now that's just me, and but they have some very good watches. You take for example, there's one that IWC has that is just fantastic, and it's got like a jumping hours and I can't think of the name of it, but they have some good ones too. All of them have some good ones, and I think you have to get to the good ones. Hi, Act Master. AP 3120 versus Rolex. Uh, I don't. It's really funny. I haven't really paid much attention to either one of those. Audemars Piguet, I like a lot. Um, that's sort of one of those watches. If I saw a good deal, I'd probably want to get it. Rolex, there's the Rolex I like. They, I like the Rolex with blah, 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 what's it called? The Air King or something like that. And they have the dial that was from a land racer called the Bloodhound, and I like that one. But the new one, the old one that they had the Bloodhound dial, had the same movement as the what's it called? The one with the Milgauss, the same as the Milgauss, and then they changed it. So anyway, I think that's a good buy. But these other two, the 3120 and the Rolex, I couldn't tell you. Sorry. On a serious note, thanks, man. Um, yeah, it's the movements that are fun. That's where you see the fun creativity. That's why I like something like jumping seconds. The way that Jaeger-LeCoultre did it, and the way that Harboring 2 did it. They're different kinds of ways of doing the same thing that look really cool, I think. Oh my god. Jacques Droz makes some gorgeous dials. They do. Jacques Droz is a very interesting brand. If you go back on Jacques Droz, by the way, do you guys want some gossip about Jacques Droz? Jacques Droz, the guy who was actually named Jacques Droz, the original founder of it, married a gal named Marianne Sandoz. The Sandoz Family Foundation owns Parmigiani, Vauchour, all that whole vertical line. So, it's almost in the Swiss watchmaking is almost incestuous. Hey, Dark Star. Yeah. Hey, Robert. Oh, yeah, I know, Robert. I saw that. That's funny. Um, minute repeaters. Minute repeaters, a lot of these, this is something my hearing is shot. And so, things like minute repeaters and even alarms. I have an alarm and I can feel it vibrate, but I can't hear the thing. So minute repeaters, which are, some beautiful horology, I don't pay that much attention to, not because they're not good horology, just because that's looking at different kinds of things. Milgauss, John, that was what I was thinking of. Looking for a yachting watch with a 10-minute race timer. Yeah, Andrew. Oh, Andrew, there's some really good ones. If you want a countdown, and I can't think of the name of it, but there was one. They're not very expensive, but they're made specifically for regattas, and they include a countdown. They're really cool watches, but they probably have an ETA base moving in or something like that. Doesn't matter. They're really neat watches, though. If you look around, you can find them. I forgot the name of them. Mr. Jones, Badger. Mr. Jones has some of the most interesting watches, or at least interesting looking watches. I don't know what they put in there, what kind of movement they use, but they're very interesting. Hey, Maximus, sorry to insist, but please have a look at Tribu. I have looked at those and Resonance. I've looked at both of them. Okay, they both have some interesting stuff in them. I agree. H. Moser Apple Watch is the ultimate minute repeater. Probably is. I tell you, I forgot who I was talking to about this, but we were, saying, well, what are some of the new trends and sort of who's really moving? And I think that H. Moser, I think, is making some of the best moves and has some of the best watches that they have. They're excellent watches. Um, Used to be you could get some really good deals on those, but you can't anymore. But they're still, I mean, they're moving forward. They're not. That's the thing I like about them. And the guy who's sort of their CEO, Malin Edward Maryland, is a cool guy. One of the videos had an interview with him. Well, it was right before the pandemic. That was the last interview I had. Trip to New York. I was able to interview him. It was a cool guy, like I said. Hey, Caesar, I'd pay not to have a minute repeater. The limited edition Jaeger-LeCoultre's Big Seconds mono pusher. Mason, I think you can find the Jaeger-LeCoultre's. You know why they have all uh the eight shaped? When Jaeger-LeCoultre first started making watches, he sold them to the Chinese imperial court, and that lasted until at some point that deal sort of fell apart. But that's where Jaeger-LeCoultre's background. He also made some erotic watches too. Mm. The Harboring Globetrotter, me too. I like it. They have two of them. The one I like, I think, is the Irwin. I believe it's the Irwin. That I like. Ah, Dark Star, thank you. I like Seiko movements. They are very nice. That the Soprod A10, which is based on a 4L, I think, from Seiko. I know it's a Seiko base, but it was one of the things when Seiko wanted to get into high horology. They came out with a watch with this. I think it's 4L, L4, one of the two, and it was a bust. The reason it was a bust wasn't because it wasn't really great quality. It was a bust because the Seiko buyers were used to a much less expensive watch. And so they went to Soprod and they said, they had some kind of deal with them. I don't know what it was. Then I guess Citizen bought Soprod and no, wait, not. somebody bought Sopod. It wasn't Festina. It was before that. It was another. It was one of the Asian companies. Anyways, there a lot of stuff to it. I've got my Soprod, and this thing works great. Except I can't get the rest of the watch together. Working on it. Mason, I didn't know that either. I didn't. I Are the perpetual calendars using double hairsprings? I didn't think so. Let me check on that. The double hairspring, I still think that's one of the you can still find some of those double hairsprings. Great watch. I've had uh, when I was at they had one of these weekend courses on watchmaking at the Horological Society of New York offers. That was a one watch. The guy who was holding the class really was interested because of the double hairspring. Also, the guy who used to be one of the judges for GPHG, but they're very unpopular, and that's a shame because it's some of the most interesting horology I think that's been done. I really like those a lot. What happened, Act Master? I've got you. You banged up your a Langenheim caliber 6? I don't know. I don't I don't I don't know about that. Hey, Saad. Clyde is the inventor of Lyrique. He may be. Frederick Constant Rega. Frederick Constant, I I sort of one time at a show, the guy I was sort of at the end of the show and everybody was packing up and ready to go. And I was sitting over where they had the Frederick Constant, and the guy there showed me some watches. They were really very well made watches, and I had a prejudice against um, Frederick Constant simply because they use plating instead of real gold. And so I thought, well, that's not a very good reason not to be crazy about them. And all of their stainless steel watches, of course, they don't have any of that. But that watch, I think, is that brand, I think, is one that is sort of punching above its weight, so to speak. Yeah, what it is, Mason. Here's the way to look at the hairsprings. You have a shaft, okay, on your balance wheel, and if you're the torque of going one way and then the other, it tends to move the shaft. Okay, so you have some imbalance. The purpose of the double hairsprings is to balance them. Okay, it's like when I used to fly on the takeoff run, you had to. I think I used to have to stomp on the right rudder because the torque of the engine would pull the airplane over to the left, pull you right off the runway. Now, if you had a twin engine plane, the props were going in opposite directions. I mean, it was still, have they would still power the plane. But what would happen with opposing torques, they would either both pulling outward or both pulling inward. They would cancel each other out, and so you didn't have to stomp on a rudder to keep the thing on a runway. The same thing is true with the double hairspring. When I got mine, I had read somewhere they were right after I got mine, they were saying, well, they're going to discontinue it or limit the production of it. So I asked the guy why. I said, these things are great to keep a wonderful time. Why are you guys doing that? And they said they're very expensive. Someone said they were more complex to produce than a tourbillon. So, it's one of those things, and that's why I think they're such a great deal if you can find one. I really like them a lot. See, I love that Moser put the balance wheel under the movement in the Streamliner chronograph double. Well, you know who did that? That's Jean-Marc Vitorec's Agograph movement. That's that thing is I know there's an article in Quill and Pad, and the best way to describe how the author is describing the Agograph is somebody with their jaw open, like, oh my goodness. And brilliant work. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant work. Hi, Troller. Would love to see Universal Geneva revived. A lot of people have said the same thing. Oh, speaking of revived brands, the one to look for is the LVMH bringing back Daniel Roth, the ones that were made I think in the 80s, no, the 90s, that he had in the early 2000s. I've got a couple of them. Fabulous watches. They're really something, and it's going to be interesting to see. First of all, it's going to be whether they're affordable or not. The Daniel Roth watches have been going up and up and up. Everything after the pandemic. Speaking of which, on Friday, just this last Friday, a couple days ago, I was in New York City, and I went to the FP Journe shop, and we were I was chatting with him. My God, there's a waiting list of something like, I don't know, 2 to 3 years for an FP Journe. This one shop, and then the new one they have was the one with a hand to tell you the time. That watch is over $100,000. All of the prices of their watches are up. They get at that one boutique in New York City, they get 20 new clients a week. $50,000 a pop on the watches. I mean, that's the average. They're talking about $1 million a week for one boutique. That's just if you go to the boutique, you have to have an appointment now. It used to be you just go in and talk to the guys and so forth. That when they were up on Madison Avenue, but now they're down on Mercer Street now, sort of near Little Italy and the Chinatown and the Liberty Tower and all of that, the financial district. And they got this cool little store that they have down there, but you can't take pictures anymore. They have all of these new rules for going in there. Like, oh. Had a good time though. And, if you're interested in one, I would suggest trying to get a good deal somewhere on the pre-owned market. Escapement wheel pallet fork set with rubies and silicon. Now, Ackmaster, you know what? The silicon in the escapement doesn't really bother me that much as it is in the in silicon hairsprings. The reason being is that there's nothing that changes other than reducing magnetification. But the escapement is working the same way. Whereas with a hairspring, you cannot adjust it because it's too brittle. And I know that they have one that you can do some adjustment to with Omega, but for the most part, I don't know. This is why I think that Patek Philippe lost the Geneva seal. They can't get a Geneva seal because part of it, the requirements for the Geneva seal were such that you couldn't use silicon in certain parts of the watches, perhaps even including the escapement. But silicon and escapement doesn't bother me. There's some other ones too that have done some interesting things with this big thing that looks like this, and I forgot who that was, but it was part that was for constant, excuse me, for constant force. And hi, son. Oh, thanks. Thanks, son. Uh, okay, guys. You got a frying pan time, John. Well, listen, guys, I want to thank you guys. Really, you really helped a lot. And I'm sorry it's so dark. I don't have my usual lights on or my fancy microphone, but I did want to make sure that the sound was okay again. And it was great to see such a fun mix of watch lovers today. So anyway, you guys take care and stay safe. See you later. Next time I run into a problem, you guys are going to be the emergency crew, the first responders. Thanks again.